fat reserves for the winter. With nearly 30% of Mongolia's population relying on nomadic herding, the crisis threatens not only the economic stability of these families, but also their mental and physical well-being.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth. Plus, original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The deep state anxiously awaited the lunar eclipse that occurred in the early morning hours today. Control programs of the past are no longer in the golden age. Let's find out more about how the systems controlled you and what to expect as things change. We have entered into a transition phase, which will last for around 2 weeks. Find out what you can expect for yourself and others. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hi, Kim. New week. Happy Monday.
Is it a new week? I don't know.
It does blend together. And I do feel, we talked about this a little bit in the tease, we are in a different zone. Something has changed, and I'm excited to talk to you about that because I feel it. Something's different.
Really?
Yes.
Did you experience something overnight last night?
Yes.
Do tell.
Well, for me, I was like on the border of like making some decisions, and things became very clear to me last night. There had been a lot of anxiety over decisions that I needed to make, but things kind of crystallized, if you will, for me. I feel like I gained a lot of power behind that and resolution behind that. And I felt like it was needed. It had to happen in order to move forward. That's what was going on in my head. Some really big things for me. So I don't know, but I don't know how that translates to the stuff that you're working on.
Oh, loads of things have been taking place in the last couple of days. And a lot of them, honestly, it's been rocky, not going to lie. But there are a lot of things that are changing that are to our benefit.
Okay.
And today we are going to talk about some of those programs that existed before and why you're probably feeling that difference now. You know, a lot of times when we go through times of transition in our lives, and this is all of our lives now, but even normal people transitions, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of, and then there's, you know, not always, but a lot of times you'll find that guilt and shame coming in. Mm-hmm. Am I making the right decision? Is this right for my family? Is this right for my kids? Is this right for me? I feel guilty that I'm doing something because it's self-preservation, or, you know, this is not a job that I want to be in anymore, or whatever it is. We tend to guilt and shame each other, ourselves, more so than even anybody else does. Sometimes in these times of transition, what if I make the wrong decision? So there was a program for that. So we'll talk about that in a little bit towards the end. But I wanted to kind of get into a little bit of regular news because there's a lot of controversy out there going on. And I'm going to kind of set the record straight on a few things for you. Okay. There is a lot of buzz still, and some of it's pretty bad going on in the news, even all media, about this eclipse. There was an article that was released today that talked about a Holocaust, quote unquote, for all of humanity event planned allegedly by the Khazarian mafia or the Rothschild family, however you, Order of the Dragon, insert name here. And I understand the fear because the deep state is also expecting some kind of an event. Now, remember, this is not something they can create. There is no amount of war or genocide or anything that is going to perpetuate this into happening for all of humanity. There, may have been some pockets of old equipment, those kind of things, but it still takes a mechanism behind those things to operate from somewhere else, someone else, based on an old covenant or an old agreement that has nothing to do with the humans walking this planet. Now, a very interesting conversation took place over the weekend, and it was with the newly appointed CEO of Northrop Grumman. And as you know, Northrop Grumman is an offshoot of Project Paperclip, also heavily tied into DARPA, and heavily tied into the SSP program or secret space programs we've had on this planet. And this person made a comment about the fact that they're expecting an event to take place starting last night, because this conversation took place on Saturday. And during the conversation, there was another person on the phone, and that person basically said, well, if that were to happen, what's going to happen to you? And they said that they do not have to worry because they are the chosen ones, and that there are ships in Earth's atmosphere that are going to come pick them up should this event occur.
Okay.
That is a quote from the head of a deep state organization known as Northrop Grumman. Now, I can assure you that there is no ship, and I double-checked, the enforcer double-checked, we all double-checked to see if there was anything in Earth's atmosphere that had been hanging out there waiting for a time such as this. And the answer to the question is no.
So you think that's based on knowledge, books, information in the past?
Well, in my opinion, when you get down to that level, I think they would like the human slave masters and those capable with technologies to harm humanity, disease to harm humanity, to continue thinking that they are not going to be harmed by the things that they are doing. Therefore, because they're special and they're chosen. I've heard this many, many, many times. And that they will be saved. So just please continue hurting humanity, because this is in our best interest. This is in the multiverse's best interest. So I've heard this story before. Unfortunately, that is not the case. That is a lie. They were going to leave all of the humans, and they are humans, even though they think they're of the Abraxas bloodline or whatever bloodline they think they come from. They're still human. And they would not be taking them elsewhere. There is nobody to take them. There is no ship. There is no one coming to save them, and they would have all been wiped out just like the rest of us. So not to say we wouldn't like the deep state wiped out, but, and I know they're, let's just say very diligent in the fact they would like this to happen. But, if they want to eradicate themselves, that's okay. We're okay with that. We're not going to be upset about that. But you're not going to take the rest of us with you. So we would be more likely to be picked up by a ship than they would be, because we actually have them.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of positive beings and ships that are helping us out right now. So.
That's right. We got about 25 million ships divided by 8 billion people, minus the deep state. We would be okay.
Totally.
That's a lot of, we would be all right. Other crazy events that are going on around the world. There is a lot of talk behind the scenes of the apocalypse plan that is written in, I guess you would say, Jewish mythology, the Kabbalah, wherever it's written. And they do believe that now, based on events that they are seeing, orchestrated or otherwise, that it is now time to sacrifice the red heifer.
Oh, that's big.
Without
That's
blemish.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I do believe that I've heard stories that they're planning on doing it on the 8th. I have also heard stories they were planning on doing it last night, overnight, or wee hours in the morning, our time, on the Temple Mount. Now, this is causing big issues between the Jewish people and the Islamic people based on what's going on the Temple Mount. Is that what it's meant to do? I would say yes, probably. Now, just to be fair, sacrificing an animal of any sort or human, is not a thing anymore. Now, there used to be, and I stress the term used to be, a dark mechanism that existed under the Temple Mount in order to harness the energy of those that were faithful to God, essentially.
Okay.
It's a different kind of an energy, an essence, a louche flavor, if you would exist. You would say that would trigger other events. But those things haven't been there for months. So sacrificing things in order to create a religious war in the Middle East is probably Mayor Rothschild, if he's still around, kind of thought process. He likes that kind of thing. They don't like the Jews, as the Khazarian mafia folks hate the Jewish people in general. And this has been going on since World War II, that it's become evident and open. But they've always hated the actual Jewish people. So to get them kind of, you get your rabbis and your councils and everything they have there together, and you start convincing them of the signs as pointed out in this book or those prophecies, and that now would be the time to create this sequence of events. If you've never seen, there's an older series, I should say, it's not that old, but it's called The Dig. I've mentioned it before on the news. It has one season only, and it talks all about this plan where they actually were cloning people, Jewish people, that they believed could be the next Messiah, Mashiach.
Wow.
And they were doing it in the series. They were doing it in New Mexico, and is there a tie between that and the Los Alamos laboratories or the facilities that used to exist in Gallup, New Mexico, or any of those places? Possibly. Are they actually doing that now? No. Do they have any of those little kids running around still? I'm not sure. But there is a lot of truth behind things that are told. I find often the series that give us the most information have like one season.
Yeah. Well, there's no need. They probably got out all the information they needed to in the first season.
Well, yeah. Or maybe they didn't want to give any further information, or felt they gave too much information, to find things out. Like there's a series called 0 Hour that they talk about the 12 apostles, and there's two series called 0 Hour, so don't confuse them. This one talks about the apostles and coming back and the Nazi cloning programs, and a lot of truth in that one too. But it makes me wonder what else they have planned with the breastplate and that type of thing, and the Temple Mount. Now, there's also rumblings going on Twitter and on a few other channels about the going to say this hopefully correct, Mahdi coming back, which is the Islamic version of the Savior. And truth be told, I know that they're probably waiting for a person or would like to appoint a special person to do this. But in reality, it's not a person, it's you. And I'm not saying we're all going to be walking on water like Jesus, but we could in the future. It is the I am that's coming back. It is the source that's coming back. It is the crystalline energy that's coming back. That's all been happening for quite a while now, as you know, but it's really ramping up at a high pace. But they really want on the Khazarian side of things, the fake Jewish people. So they infiltrate everything, as far as power goes. And I've talked about this before. There is no head of state that's not part of the deep state. Not one, not in history of planet Earth, not a king, not a queen. You would have to go back before our written history to actually find one that was not. There was no savior. There was no, the same thing goes with all religious figures like your Pope, unfortunately. And, the heads of, you see a lot of these evangelists on TV. You see, anyone that's proposed as a leader of any sort, be it a religious leader or a government leader or someone with the United Nations or a scientific leader, Elon Musk being one of those, they're all there, your panel of experts, your doctors, your worldwide this, any kind of field, you can pick your field. And those people have been taken by the deep state and they're actors on behalf predominantly of your GMO person in some way, shape, or form on any level, be it your spirituality, your consciousness, your physical body. And we'll talk more about that in a minute here too. Okay, so other events that happen. There is a fairly good confirmation from more than one source that King Charles is dead.
Okay, so is this an addition to Kate, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
The parties who have passed very recently, as in over the weekend, as I hear it, Charles actually was very sick, as you know. Even some of that's leaked out into the news. So there was a situation where there probably could have been a resuscitation. There could have been a medical intervention that might have prolonged his life, and they chose not to. So that's what happened with Charles. It's not a white hat. We're gonna, maybe that was an intervention there. Nobody likes him anyway, even in his own inner circle. So they probably could be like, yeah, that's going. Yep, there that goes. Whoop.
That was a short-lived kingship.
Yeah, short. Well, when they announce these things in the news, we don't know. Also, along with that, in the royal family, Prince Andrew and Kate Middleton and Camilla also.
They're all
gone. Over the weekend.
By what? What happened?
Well, in true deep state form, there is an argument, as I told you last week, between the Rothschilds and the Silent Circle. Yeah. And the Rothschild family would be the current reigning monarch, family of the, I shouldn't say that. The family in the reigning monarch on TV, the actors on TV, are the line of Rothschild. They all work for the Crown, which has nothing to do, that is Crown Corporation, that's Rothschild. Okay. So to say that there was a fight between the Order of the Black Sun and Rothschild over late last week, and then we see these types of things happening, leads me to believe you had some Silent Circle or / anti-Silent Circle Black Sun intervention into their assets. Remember, the deal was, if they gave them all their codes and all their master keys and all their sites and special assets and this and that they would keep them alive. Well, obviously, the argument that took place before these events happened was over the fact that none of their stuff worked and that you duped us, you tricked us. So was this a payback situation? It looks like it to me, for sure.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people to try to replace in the media.
They've got lots of masks, But also there's a part of me that says, okay, well, I can see that. I can see them doing something like that. That would make sense to me. Mm-hmm. there's a lot of people throughout Commonwealth countries and throughout the world that, even though we still have some kings and queens in other countries, this is the one that everybody talks about all the time.
Yeah,
We don't see much about the Netherlands family, not here anyway in the States, and throughout most of the world. They're there, the older lady was evil as all get out, and the kids probably aren't much better. And, the halls of that palace is disgusting underneath. But, you've got the King of Spain, you've got the King of Jordan, their families, you got a lot of people, that are alleged, Rothschild royalty. You've got the King of Saudi Arabia. So all of these families together are all Rothschild families. And that's decades after decades, centuries after centuries in some cases. They are all related to that bloodline. So is the Order of the Black Sun / Black Nobility and Silent Circle going to take out all the Rothschild royalty now, based on the fact that they didn't prove their worth, so to speak, and they aren't worth keeping alive, because of course it would be the Black Sun that would keep them alive, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know what's to come, what they're planning on doing, but they're a little busy today.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you know, there was a lunar eclipse last night, which took place. I say last night, but it was probably about 1 o'clock in the morning at its height, my time, last night or early this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on what time zone you're in the world, it was around that time, mountain time. So they were definitely expecting a turn of events that would, as foretold in their books of knowledge, that would turn us back to the Dark Age.
Right.
And that they would then have access to money and finances and a lot of other things. You've met Tom here on the channel as an example. He was offered by a general over the weekend to have a job with FEMA, which would start on Monday, today. And so, of course, Tom asks, is this a paying position? Because we know it's not, right? Is this a paying position? And he said, oh, yes, it will be, but I will give you a call Monday morning, after we're successful, so to speak. And, we will then, be able to pay you and offer you this job. Now, I haven't spoken to Tom today yet, so I do not know. He was very busy last night and the day before. So, I do not know if he's actually received that call, but I definitely know that the money that they were expecting didn't come. We did not turn back to the Dark Age. Good news for all of us, and a lot of work for all of us too. But actually the exact opposite happened. So for fun and games, I waited till probably about 5 or 6 in the afternoon, my time, yesterday, and I completely whited out all of the quantum system existence on this planet. And I also put a few other precautions in place, such as you could call it a shield of sorts, but it's more of a membrane around the planet so that they couldn't see externally. It was also between their low Earth orbiting lost my tongue today. Their low Earth orbiting satellites and planet Earth. So they went completely blind last night. Now, I also blacked out the key intelligence and military system so they couldn't see what else was going on. And I just wrote cloaked operation in process. But I didn't put my name on it. I didn't put anything on it. It was just white. Huh. And I left it like that overnight because, number one, I'd like to get some sleep, and number two, I wanted them to think that their transition was happening.
Oh.
So it kept them busy, salivating, licking computer screens all night long. And it was actually kind of funny for me. I didn't need to watch a movie or anything, before bed last night because I was watching them licking computer screens. It was pretty funny. And it wasn't until this morning that I actually put on there, ground command, Kimberly A. Gogan, operation in progress. Please stand by.
Okay.
That's when they started to go nuts because they realized, oh, wait, this isn't for us. She doesn't work with us. She doesn't work for us. No, she does not. No. And that's when they started to go nuts this morning. So it was a little bit bumpy of a morning for us. But that's okay.
So is the operation ongoing? Can you tell us what was going on?
Well, yeah, I will tell you. Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
But let me get through the rest of the news. So,
okay.
A lot of the other things that you're seeing in the world, like the uptick in Gaza Strip, the Greater Israel Project, trying to expand into Palestine, has to do with the control of the Temple Mount and all of the other things that they believed, at least on the Black nobility side and the Silent Circle side, that they were going to be able to own and control starting last night. Mm-hmm. Including the fight that took place between the Russians and the Black nobility families for ending the Russian-Ukraine war. They felt that the narrative had outlived itself and they didn't get the job done. We're also not sure what the job actually was. I just heard in the back chatter they did not get the job done, and they were going to start moving the trigger for World War III or V or whatever number we're on now over to Taiwan, which they've already started that narrative. Yeah, they have. Hence the reason for the shooting that you saw in the arena. Yeah. Yes. And the fact that they were all wearing Black Sun symbols and, we're still a part of the Black Sun. Don't ever forget us, kind of thing. And trying to prompt the continuation of the war. Now, this was an agreement between the Russians and the Ukrainians. I will repeat myself. An agreement between the Russians and the Ukrainians to do this.
To do this event, you mean?
Oh, yes. And it's all its media coverage and all of the things that did or did not take place, and make sure that it gave them a reason for bombing Ukraine again and vice versa, and to kind of reignite that war. So that they could also prove their worthiness to be taken into the ship.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there was discussion about them falling from grace, as far as the order goes. And why would we save you? You couldn't get the World War III started. Now they're all talking about NATO, because in order to have a world war with Russia, you would need to involve NATO or against Russia. If Russia was the global boogeyman.
Sorry, Kim, are they still trying to do this because they think it's going to bring in more dark essence? Like, what's their game plan here? Just to appease these people that are supposed to be picking them up on ships?
Well, they still believe, for whatever reason, that the more dark consciousness, energy, essence that they create, the more they're appeasing, I guess, the people who drive the ship. I did ask who's driving that ship, by the way. No one knows. They think it's some technology. They also think it's an SSP technology. It's not in any way. The SSP has never been able to pass a tin can through the time-space continuum, ever. That was never permitted. So, and they were never given the technology from others to create this technology, because they that wouldn't be the case at all. So, all right, back to so that's the Ukraine war. That is what's going on with the royal family. Any other questions on normal people, real situation reports?
Well, we kind of touched on the Taiwan situation. I saw some headlines about China sending some ships, I believe, over there. A bunch of, I can't remember if they were planes or ships.
And the
4
Americans
million.
as well.
The Americans as
The
well.
Americans have as well.
They're trying
Yes,
to
and
ignite that a little bit, at least get it out in the headlines, like, hey, here's a potential issue over here, kind of thing.
well, the more war, the better for them. It doesn't really matter which countries, or the more the merrier, actually. If they could get this going more in the Middle East, the religious war in the Middle East, and they could get it started again and, reignite everybody's interest in Ukraine and Russia. And then, of course, throw China and Taiwan / the United States in the mix, and you've got a world war. But world wars, again, are very, very expensive, and wars don't make money. They don't get paid out for wars, although they were thinking they were going to be able to do that today.
Right. So the money didn't come through. So where are they now thinking they're going to get this money from? Or is there just another day ending in Y that money's going to come?
By the end of the day today, it'll be another day ending in Y. Nothing will happen. Nothing will come. Will the Silent Circle spend more of their money to at least give partial payments to those who are selling arms? I don't know. They're kind of trying to juggle a lot of balls in the air right now, and there isn't a whole lot to go around. And, unless they're being refused or, the arms, they're being refused, will they start to steal arms? Probably. I mean, they do run the mafia organizations. I'm sure that they could pick up trucks all over the place, and transports and planes and so on and so forth. We'll see. Now, next thing that's being discussed is Star Wars satellite-based weapons. This is another thing that's coming up. If you remember, and you are old enough to remember, you'll remember the Star Wars wasn't just a movie in the 1980s. It was actually a technology that was supposedly, they were satellite-based weapons or nuclear weapons, which was also mentioned by the Russians just a few weeks ago, that could allegedly wipe out a country, from outer space. I can tell you that with our technology that we put in place last night, it doesn't matter if there was something and we missed it or not. Nothing like that is ever going to happen. Next, there are people talking about a Holocaust-like event to happen on April 8th. Now, by Holocaust, they're meaning, everybody's going to be hauled off into camps. And it does look like the deep state, the Order of the Black Sun, also known as the White Hats, which is a lie, was trying to start up these FEMA camps again, and hence the reason why they were hiring, various people. I'm sure that Tom is not the only person that got that phone call in order to put us cattle into concentration-like camps, and then, keep some of us as slaves. And, I know there are various stories and also a lot of people that are still alive that lived through that experience. But I can tell you, if they had gotten, the human beings had gotten any kind of access to the type of alien technology that had been on this planet for a long time, they wouldn't need to put us in camps because the entire planet has been for millennia in some type of a Holocaust-like event. Now, Hitler, as you know, was Black Sun. I'm sure the black nobility would love to just, and for them, maybe it's a joy to just torture people. I don't know. It gives them power, makes them feel bigger, special. But they did nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to what they have done to the entire planet. Now, to go back to your clearer decision making, one thing that came to light, and it was on Friday, Saturday, was a program I didn't realize was still there. So this is, again, I'm not God. I'm figuring things out as we go along here, so bear with me. But there was actually a program running that was the opposite of love. So if love comes from source, we had an equally powerful program running, coming from anti-source here on this planet. And it was basically called the damned or condemnation.
Okay.
So you would say that fear is the opposite of love. Well, not as bad as being damned or condemned. Now, this program goes far beyond interfering with just your consciousness thought. Thoughts of self-hatred, thoughts of, I wish I was shorter, taller, fatter, thinner, whatever it is. I wish I didn't eat that ice cream, to, well, I wish I hadn't done this to my spouse, or my spouse didn't do this to me. And, and all those types of things that make us do strange things. This program was even worse than what you would see as a social crediting program. Now, we've talked about social crediting programs as they were allegedly designed by the World Economic Forum's bosses, such as, if you go to the store and you buy 4 candy bars a day, then you're at a health risk. You eat this kind of food, you drink this kind of water, this kind of, you're in this field, so to speak. You are in a high risk field. Maybe you work on electrical poles or something like that, or you work with radiation in some way, or chemicals in a factory. Then, you're considered more of a high risk citizen. But this program actually took the 9 deadly sins. I'll say there's 9. The Bible says 7, or religious books say 7. I say suicide is also in there, and guilt and shame. And it took it to a whole nother level of when it came to ownership of the dark of your soul, of your consciousness. What gave them the right to condemn you or consider you one of the damned humans? That's not a swear word, damned, like humans on this planet. So if you take the 9 and you outlay them, and then you pick it apart. Have you ever committed murder? You could say, well, I probably stepped on an ant, or a bee was stinging me and I slapped it, or, you can think of all the things. Have you ever killed a plant? You've ever eaten a plant? Yes, you've committed murder. And so they took it to like that degree.
Wow.
I mean, and the way that it was pointed out to me, when I was going over the program, let's just say, on high, because I wanted to fully understand it. There was programs out there for you didn't eat enough bananas. Therefore it's your own fault that you suffer from low potassium and high blood pressure and magnesium, deficiencies and all of this. Therefore you are damned because you did not take care of the temple, which is your body. I mean, it's so ridiculous how they nitpicked. It would be impossible for you to live life in our society the way that it is, and even the way it was 100 years ago and 200 years ago, without being damned. There was no way you could have escaped that program. Now, this is an alien program, not a human program.
I was just going to say, yeah, okay, thank you for clarifying, because I was going to ask. This has nothing to do with humans.
No.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with humans. This has to do with a much larger picture and the value of your essence, the value of your energy. It also puts you on the death program instead of the life program. You basically have given your life away at that point. And this is the gray area. So this is nothing against you. This is nothing against our listeners. You could not escape this program if you tried. And, even if you were in the woods eating nuts and berries, you still murdered a plant. They considered that murder underneath this amplified deadly sin program.
And how is the program, how is it able to function if it didn't have, all the dark essence behind it, the Omegaverse, all of that? What was powering it?
Well, this is a program that was pretty much on its last legs anyway. I mean, it's been on its last legs for a long time. But it was also something that, let's just say, it was a record keeping system for the harvest program, because, it gave them the right to harvest all of you, that kind of switched on, I guess, back in November, and we just didn't see it because it was slow and low. Like, it was not they kind of flew below the radar. As the boiling pot started to boil more and more, they had to, it by itself, so it was not being run by an alien or anybody, it by itself as an AI system had to damn more people. So it started running a little bit amok, because that's why it started going crazy about 48 hours. Well, yeah, Saturday, Friday night, Saturday, my time. It started going a little bit nuts because it couldn't, like, what is murder? Stepping on, bugs, plants, animals, even in defense of yourself. Like, it started like running all this stuff because it wasn't able to kill us all under its old rules. Mm-hmm. So it was rapidly trying to recategorize people so that you would be damned underneath the program. Now, it doesn't exist anymore, but when you start thinking about things like this, its ability to alter your consciousness to make decisions used to exist. One of the things I've noticed, and I think I mentioned it to you before about, doing research on different things that like, for example, essential oils could heal, how we can put the frequencies in those oils, that are positive for and opposite and that kind of thing. Because, it's been fun for me, to work on that kind of thing, but also, looking up different diseases, and even something you think is simple. Like, I was looking up, maybe different formulas that would be helpful for hair loss and hair growth, and, just different things you could do yourself at home. And, it started getting into like alopecia and cancer, and, you Google one thing and it all comes up. Right.
Yeah.
And, I'm just looking at some of these people and I'm like, well, that disease isn't real. That's not, it's real, very real for people who are going through it. So please don't think I'm discounting what someone might be going through. It was all created.
Yeah.
So maybe we didn't get all, we weren't ushered into a gas chamber. We didn't have to deal with, and God, hopefully, if you're watching this, you didn't have to deal with situations like that. But in some way, shape, or form, we've been in a slow burning gas chamber for millennia. If they didn't need us for batteries, we wouldn't last long here at all. They've done a lot of horrible, horrible things that have made humans horrible people in a lot of ways. And this is absolutely nothing to do with your deep states, presidents, ex-presidents, mainstream media. Yeah, maybe they were used, because the deep state is used. They are tools. They never were the chosen ones. They never were special. They were never anything to those that used them. It would be, and not to be mean, and please, if this is your profession, nothing against you, but it would be like hiring a prostitute, telling her you love her or telling him you love him, right? And how special they are, and you pay them their money, because that's what you like or whatever, that's your thing. And then you walk away and you go back to your life. It's just that one, millennia, 2 millennia, 15 million years or 15,000 years in their time is no time. They don't care how long they use them. Do they really love the prostitute? Because they are prostitutes, just so you know. Do they love them? No. Do they think they're special? No. Are they the chosen one and the love of their life and they're so happy that they met them? No. But it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing, because they weren't allowed access to these programs. They weren't allowed access, or maybe minimal access, to these types of programs. And that's obvious. That is so obvious. There was an incident that took place in Arizona on Saturday with some technology that does not function. But it was tied to, if you've ever been to Phoenix, Arizona, you've probably seen the very strange mountain that is bright red, that is not human made. It is very weird looking. That is off of McDowell Road over by where the botanical gardens are and the zoo. So if you live in Phoenix, you'll know where that is. If not, you can look it up. There's a place not too far from there called Hole in the Rock. So if you just want to surf the internet and find this place. And underneath this area, extending all the way from this mountain all the way through to the Grand Canyon, was formerly an up and running underground base. But moreover than that, it also had some red dust type technologies that could not be activated by the deep state. But in this particular case, it looks like your child, that is maybe a year and a half old, who is trying to operate your computer, your laptop. They'll get some numbers out and some stuff and write ibba-jibba-dibby, on your thing, and that kind of stuff. Might delete something that would make you angry or whatever, but they're really not going to operate your computer. They're not going to surf the web. Well, there's probably some smart kids out there. So most kids won't be able to do all the things you do with your laptop. These people look exactly the same way to me when they enter into a facility with technology, alien technology, that they know nothing about, and it was never meant for humans to be able to execute upon anyway. But it did lead me to a discovery, which was an important discovery. So how are they finding these locations? Are they written in the books of knowledge? I don't think they would have told them about that, because they were going to die like the rest of us. How are they finding, beyond when the secret space program ran out of their, notes, so to speak, from the others that came before them, on their level, what they had access to, the Order of the Dragon read out of their notes, and, other than the fact, be prepared to be picked up by a ship, apparently, somebody thinks, coming the 8th. But where is this information coming from? So I started, what other systems could they possibly have access to that could locate things of this nature on this planet? And I started going through the logs, the search history, for lack of a better term, in the key intelligence and military system. So they must have, because we gave it to the Pentagon, to militaries, agencies, but we gave it to them from the standpoint of global security. What are you going to look up? What are you going to search for? Where are you? Where's your terminal? Where are you logging in from? Now, they only had read-only access. Remember, I didn't permit them past that. So they would still have to send people to these locations, right, to try to activate stuff. And I've been running around chasing after these people, like, how the heck do they know where this stuff is? And also I was in Mauritius this weekend, was another location. And I'm like, oh. So I waited until, they were, let's just say, trying to detect if there was going to be something coming through for the eclipse. And they're all watching, until cloaked operation in progress. That's it.
Okay.
If I had done it too soon, they might have found something else to use for tracking and tracing to see if their eclipse was going to bring aliens back here, or could detect. They don't have any technology left that could detect ships in Earth's orbit or anything like that. So if they're telling them that
system to read only.
Read-only access. So now, congratulations, boys and girls. No one has any access to anything. There isn't a treasury building in the world that has any treasury anything. They came in, worked today worldwide in a whiteout. Same thing with central banks, whiteout. Same thing. We fired governments today. Militaries, whiteout. No systems, agencies, whiteout. So
what does that mean for them?
She blinded me with science.
I mean, they have to keep up the facade somehow, right?
I don't know. Maybe they're going to talk crap on TV. Who knows?
Do you expect then all of the running around to stop? You mentioned, I was here, I had been chasing them around. So do you expect that to just stop them because it's a whiteout? They don't have any access to the information anymore.
Nope. No access to anything. That's my system.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I built it. It's my system. I gave them the ability to use it, for allegedly thinking that there were good people in militaries and good people in agencies and good people in, there are people, and I'm not to say that there isn't. And I'm really not saying that. I'm not saying that there isn't people that were using it properly, that were really trying to do some security in their respective areas, that kind of thing. So I'm not saying everybody was bad, but unfortunately, when warranted, when there are, nothing's going to happen for the next 2 weeks. No one will have access to it for 2 weeks. Sorry.
Why 2 weeks? To the date?
Yeah, we're 14 days away from the second eclipse. So, I don't need anybody to get froggy, that kind of thing. There might be some kind of limited stuff as it relates to my own safety and security and others around me kind of thing, but we'll see. But as far as giving anybody, no, that's not ever happening. Nope.
Why give it back at all?
Well, that's my point. No, I
feel they screwed up.
Well, and if there's good people, then they can come work for us when it's time to do that.
Exactly.
But right now, no, I don't see any reason at this point. It's not behooving humanity. It's not helping us. I don't even think, I even thought about it this morning after I switched it off last night. I did it because of the eclipse initially, and I also did it because I wanted to wait until the last second before they started, detecting this and detecting that and starting to look at different places to see if they're, absolutely not. Will they ever, those people will never see it. As far as you want to own the militaries, you go own the militaries, they have the capacity to build a system somewhat like mine? No. Yeah. No, you don't. Are you going to start a war when you can't even see anything over there? No, you're blind. SOCOM's blind, CENTCOM's blind, everybody's blind. Unless they launch another satellite today and it's below my, how do I say it? Protection layer, then I'll just lower my protection layer. Yeah. No one can see it anyway. It's a field, so to speak. Yeah. Not penetrable by inorganic matter. So God bless these people, but you just can't give them an inch. Like, you can't even think the best of people or governments or whatever. So they're all blind. Cameras, and they can talk crap on TV and special houses and whatnot worldwide. Sure they can. They're going to start a war without any sat systems? Maybe. Well, we had wars before we had satellite systems. But then again, they had alien satellite.
Huh? Anyone that's in power now, would they even know what to do? Like, that was a different time. These people aren't that bright to begin with.
Maybe they could contact the American Indians of Code Breakers. That's a group. They probably have some people, that can probably, maybe they can do some Morse code kind of thing, smoke signals, something, throw rocks.
Yeah, they seem, they're not working with much here. That's for sure.
No. But they're going to run around, at least for the rest of today, I anticipate, looking for something, anything. But, I mean, as far as your systems, you can log into your bank account just fine today. There's no problem with doing things like that. Anybody goes outside normal parameters of normal business, there's a precaution for that. Back offices of the banks don't have access, can't see anything going in or out anymore. They're not needed. Again, like, who's coming forward? Who is helping us in any way? We've talked to people, and I understand some of them, look, if they're going to leave that safety and security, they want to get paid on the other side. I get that. I totally get that. But then we'll talk about that at that time. If you worked for, let's just say, Honeywell or somewhere, and you don't want to quit your job, but yet you're ready to quit your job, then you go work for, say, IBM or Lockheed Martin. I'm just throwing out names, not saying you would, because we all know who these people are. But you go to work for Lockheed Martin, you don't still get access to Honeywell's system. Like, right. It doesn't work that way. So for right now, everybody was fired. You're all blind. You want to continue to work for those people, then I'm sure they'll provide you with a lovely system as promised, as seen on TV, Mm-hmm. You don't have key intelligence and key integrated media system access anymore. You could see, couldn't install anything into it. You don't have access to the key integrated monetary system anymore to see, to monitor your currencies or anything like that. So forget it. It's over. You're fired.
Yeah.
And I'm not orange, and I don't wear a real funny comb over thing either.
Or a white hat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or the cute checkerboard shirt.
Well, no, I don't have one of those. It's not my color or whatever. No. Not my design. That wouldn't look well on me.
Yeah.
So that was been basically my weekend. Oh, I have more news. And there's more. I forgot.
Right.
But wait. I do, actually. So this lunar eclipse, was supposed to, according to them, be the space between, in the 14 days between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. So there's 14 days between the two. They were expecting a chain of events, as you know, as the harvest.
Yeah.
But, what is meant for our harm sometimes can be used for our good. And so if you imagine Source in the center of the universe, if you were to look at like a clock, and, the place where the hands meet there in the center would be where Source lives. And all of us galaxies all kind of migrate in different densities and dimensions around the central sun or around Source.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can imagine that your clock only had one hand, so one line that goes out to the different numbers around the clock, and that would point directly to and be connected to Earth. Mm-hmm. So as the first planet, as Keystone Earth. So what's happened in, let's just say, agreement and cooperation is, instead of going through what they were expecting to be, which we could have possibly, gone through what's called like a time of no time field. It would look almost like a small field that would exist between ages, so to speak. You could call it neutral in a lot of ways. And then you would see the entire universe slowly but surely go into the next stage. Now, those spaces in between were oftentimes utilized by the dark side to make adjustments. So that's why we saw kind of an uptick in some of the technologies and that we had been working on for the last week, in a future time sense, I guess you would say, as it related to the positioning of planet Earth at the time. But what we actually did is we took those spaces in between and transitioned those spaces, which would have lasted for the next 2 weeks, into, in Earth time, into the Golden Age piece.
Okay.
So instead of entering in the last 24 hours into, it usually starts about 12 hours before and then fully transitions when the eclipse would happen. This is a lunar. And then we would transition out into the next age on the following solar eclipse. What would have normally happened actually happened in the reverse. So the feelings of overnight, gaining some clarity on things, seeing things unmuddied, not clear, in part has to do with the clearing, but it also has to do with the position that Earth is in now, where we're in basically a gold band. If you were to look at the universe from source on out as a 3, 6, 9, 12, that little band right there that you would consider to be 6 that we would pass into, in between, and the spaces in between looking like a pie, you would see the age itself, and all the little ticks would be timelines. What you're seeing is though us utilizing those bands to then fully integrate not only here on Earth, but also throughout the multiverse, the full implementation of the Golden Age. So the clarity that you're gaining has to do with those connections, having to do with the fact it's a solid gold band now without any interference from any kind of death, anti-energy, anti-consciousness, anti-essence, anti-matter, knowledge, crystalline time, anti-crystalline time, I should say, and anti-frequency and condemnation. So that could be the reason why you're feeling that sense of clarity. And you'll experience this for the next 14 days. And then once we cross through that band and fully integrate it into the Golden Age, because what's going to happen is Earth is going to move from source to the number 6 at the bottom of the clock, and it's going to go all the way around. You're not going to feel the movement. It's a time-space continuum thing. It'll go all the way around and as it moves around, say it goes from 6 to 9, and then 9 to 12, and then 12 to what you're going to start seeing is all that fill in with gold. So all the way from source and all the way through the different points throughout the clock, and then it will make its way all the way back to Earth, and the Golden Age will be implemented everywhere through all the densities, dimensions. And so what we're experiencing here in this small little band, we now got our arm this weekend, so to speak, the one that goes from source to Earth. And then now you're going to feel that uptick, that upswing. Just, be aware as we go through this transition, like you said, you welcomed the clarity in your life. Mm-hmm. There are going to be a lot of people in your world that don't welcome clarity. They don't want to see. Maybe they don't want to see the answer. Maybe they don't want to hear the answer. Maybe they don't believe they can do whatever they feel they need to do. It's a difficult decision, something. Maybe they don't want to take a look at themselves in that way. Like, well, I'm here at this job in my life, just an example. Sure. And I don't like my job, and now you can't help but look at the fact that you didn't bother applying for another job. You didn't bother looking for another job. You didn't look into what it would take to re-educate yourself in another field. And I'm not saying that, this is what people should do or shouldn't do. I'm just giving you an example of, you got to look at yourself now and look at what you're creating. Mm-hmm. How did you end up here, where you're sitting? What's going to happen when you can't blame someone else? Because there's sovereignty here. When you don't have a government to blame, you don't have me to blame, you don't have somebody else to blame, then who are you going to blame? You got to blame yourself. So clarity is great. It's wonderful when you finally get the solution to a problem that you've been looking for. But clarity for some people is going to be a little tough. So the more informed you are, the more you understand that clarity is coming, the line of thought is coming, you can be prepared and can best handle those around you that are not aware. Now, look, we're going through this little bit of a change in Earth's atmosphere. It's, whatever, how can I help you? That kind of thing. Just kind of help others through this time. Everybody wakes up at a different time, in a different way, in a different place. And it's different for everybody that's watching this right now. Some of you basically were born almost awoke, and you understand the world in a different way. And it was, you always felt out of place. Others of you, it was an experience you had in your life that kind of made you start looking into things a little deeper. Like I said, everybody is different, and everybody's reaction to clarity is going to be different. Everybody's reaction to changing in times is going to be different. They're not going to be able to sleep through it. And for some, they're going to think they're nuts. I know, imagine, like there's a number of movies out there where, like people had woken up and they could hear somebody else's thoughts or hear what people were thinking. I can't remember the name. I remember it's a decade ago or so. And imagine sitting on the train going to work or, in the car and you're stuck in traffic and knowing what everybody's thinking around you. Can you imagine?
Yeah. Well, I was telling Mike earlier today, I had a telepathic moment between my husband and I. I had this feeling because he doesn't work today and he's out like running errands. He left kind of early this morning. And I just had this weird feeling. I was like, something's going on. Something's not right. And, then at least for me, oh, Sonny, stop it. Like everything's fine. Why are you thinking this? So, we're working on the news this morning, preparing to record, and I just can't shake this feeling. And so I go out and I talk to my kids because they're on spring break this week. So they're here. And I go out and I'm like, where's your dad? Have you heard from your dad or anything? And just when we started talking about it, he sent a text message because we all have a group thread for family stuff, sent a text message and said his car broke down.
Oh, no.
And I was like, that's it. And I always make a point to tell my kids when things like this happen, and my husband as well, because I want them to start to see that this is going to become more and more commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so that's what was going on. So I called my husband. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm waiting for AAA, all this kind of stuff. But that's just one example. It's that clarity. And I second guessed myself when I had that emotion, but it was not going away. And I was like, something's wrong. What's wrong? So I just wanted to share that because it just happened this morning.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Just wait. Oh, it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
We're going to put the country music country music industry probably out of business. There'll be no more cheating, lying, whatever. Like you're going to know.
It'll be about the thought that someone had about someone else.
I read my husband's mind. Can you imagine this in a country song? I read my husband's mind and I knew he was a cheater,
Exactly.
I didn't have to smell her perfume like they do now in the song,
Exactly.
Wow. The world's a changing place always and always for the better. So I have not heard anything about anybody moving, as far as like FEMA or anything like that. And if I do, I'll be sure to let you know. But I haven't seen. They're basically more concerned with being blind today.
Okay.
And there may be more blind people by the end of the day. Who knows? Things we paid for. The song that kept playing in my head was Irreplaceable by Beyonce. I mean, I know you're going to say, oh, Beyonce's this and that, and that's fine, but they played it 9,000 times a day about a decade or so ago, on the radio. Like you could not hear this song.
Yeah.
If you got in your car and you had radio in your car, you'd hear the song. And it talks about, that's my stuff, everything you own in the box to the left.
Yeah.
So everything they own now is in the box to the left. So, and they are replaceable.
Yeah. They think they're irreplaceable. They think very highly of themselves, but
Yeah, chosen ones. Aliens are coming to save them in the ship. And I'm like, I'm hearing from this from a CEO of a corporation.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
I just want one of them to get on the news and say that.
I know.
just go
We'll have to record that stuff next time.
Go on
and tell you who it is.
And tell people what you're really waiting for. Please. Someone just
The funny part is that, a lot of you probably have gone through this, and I'm sure you have too, Sunny. Like, you have this dream, or you have a vision of something, or you think something's going to happen, but you don't say anything. And then, you probably have those days where you wake up and you think, oh my God, I'm so crazy. I have to go, like, should I tell Kim this, or should I share this with the production team or somebody?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've had those moments. So,
yes.
And then you actually hear it, like from their lips to your ears, and you're like, oh, okay. Nope, not crazy.
Yeah.
Nope, this is really happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, there you go. One less day I woke up thinking I was crazy. No, just kidding.
It's a good feeling when that happens, when you know that other people are feeling the same way. And that's happened a lot recently in my life. So that's good.
Well, you're listening to the system, right? I'm listening to the back chatter on the key intelligence and military system. I'm hearing some of the things people say, and I'm like, oh my God, did they just say that? Really? You think that's going to work? Okay. Well, Niagara Falls is leaking, and we're going to take some Jiffy peanut butter and slap it on the leak. And then, the electrical plant will work just fine. Everything will be great.
And can't we just record some of this stuff and leak it out? Can't we just, have people like, is that really so-and-so's voice? Did so-and-so just say an alien ship was going to come get them? Just eke it out on YouTube and stuff.
I know. We can wait till they're on TV, doing their in our fourth quarter report for the, this year is this, and do it like a voiceover.
Yeah, exactly.
Or play it in the background on the video thing in the background.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it on April 9th. How's that? The day after. See, show everybody that they're a little crazy. A little bit. I know. There will be a time and a place for everything. Mm-hmm. Right now we need to focus on staying alive and making sure that we don't have FEMA camps and Holocausts and I think we're doing well. I mean, we're okay. Nothing happened last night that they expected to happen. First phase 1 of Harvest Plan did not happen.
So what happens after these 2 weeks with the Golden Age, and then it's throughout the multiverse? Then what do we expect, or do we just don't know?
Oh, an awakening of epic proportions for human beings on this planet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. A little nervous about that, honestly.
But
I honestly trust in
finally, they're going to start recognizing the truth more and start questioning things. The whole waking up process.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. You'll start seeing a lot more people looking for real answers, stop being, historically speaking, what will actually transpire is you'll be using a higher percentage of your brain, which will then be more interconnected to your soul, which is more interconnected. It's mind, body, and soul connection. So once those things are connecting, and I think for various people, Source isn't hateful, and he doesn't want to see anybody go through a bad experience. And I'm sure, it'll happen as it happens, but everybody's at a different level, and I hate to use this word because I don't really think of it as that kind of a classification, but not everybody was born with a 200 IQ and that level, not everybody was, is 130. Not everybody's 140. There are some people that are less or more, and this would be more on an overall, 6 different compartmentalized sections of what determines an IQ. It's not a standardized test because some people don't test well, that kind of thing. So that connection and the percentage of the brain that they use or they choose to use, and people become lazy and sleepy. Some people, read every night till they're 110 years old. And some people, well, Google, tell me, or Alexa, tell me what time it is. Tell me, how long to cook a chicken. Like nobody exercises their brain, even if you exercise your body. So, there's a lot more to the process and how long it's going to take for various people based on those types of factors. Some of it's not their fault. Some of it's, development. The DAMNed program wasn't just for you, by the way. It wasn't just things you did. It is also how they took the liberty of genetically passing down disease between parents to kids, because depending on the classification of your condemnation, you could actually pass that. That's where genetic anomalies come in. You can pass that down to your children. The old saying, I curse you and your whole family. Well, that's a very real thing. So, I wish this was an easier process. I wish I could give you all an answer as to when we're going to finally be done and when we're going to finally hit the end of the road. I wish I had that answer myself. And then at times I wish I didn't, because, would I still be, my days of frustration are just as frustrating as yours are. There are days where my last truck has flown. No more trucks. I am truckless over here, if you know what I mean. And I just have nothing, my frustration level, gets high too. Hopefully things will turn around real quickly. I'm hoping. So. But that was pretty much the situation report for the weekend, Miss Sunny. That's what's going on in the world.
That's a lot of stuff.
I know. A lot to say today.
Wow.
A lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in.
You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Well, like I said, I got my clarity. I got an explanation and it was really weird because it was like overnight. And I had some weird dreams that kind of tied into it and stuff too. So the timing is really spot on for me.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good. And I hope all of you get some clarity too.
Yeah, exactly. Like especially the deep state. Hopefully you guys get some clarity too and start making wise choices, although we will not be holding our breath on that one.
It's okay. Everything they own is in the box to the left.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Sunny.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us